How did the morals and ethics that you learned now, what are some examples you can give us where you've had to use the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu or the Machado Jiu-Jitsu or any type of Jiu-Jitsu that you've learned, the ethics and the morals in an everyday situation to overcome or perhaps de-elevate? You can give us a living example of a way that you've helped someone avoid violence or avoid something that would be negative to us.
Where I haven't fought?
Yes.
There's plenty of times.
Fighting without fighting.
Yeah, exactly. Fighting without fighting. Well, I've got a great example. Being in LA, a bunch of jiu-jitsu guys and stuff when I lived there and stuff, and there wasn't a whole lot of jiu-jitsu people at the time, and now there's everywhere coming out of the woodworks, especially fighters. But in the beginning, just knowing jiu-jitsu gives you a sense of confidence. And one time we were at a place in Hermosa Beach. That's where in South Bay, where the Gracie Academy was in Torrance. We were in Hermosa Beach, and it was just me and a couple of my jiu-jitsu friends. And all of a sudden, some guys were starting to look intimidating and trying to take over our area or whatever. And all of a sudden, they're just kind of offensive people, I guess, and very pushy. And we just, we're just not going to be pushed around. So we just stood there, and the guys mentioned something, and one of our guys mentioned something, and it wasn't very offensive, and we were very laid back. And the guys started getting really hot, and we were very relaxed and calm. It's just, they're big guys. They're all bigger than us. And they're just like, well, why don't you guys this? And we're just like, you know what? Then now they're talking about fighting. At this point, I don't remember verbatim what was said, but then it got escalated to the point where well, they wanted to fight us right then and there in this place we were at, and we're like, you know what? Let's just go outside and we can fight outside if you guys want to fight, just like that. And they're like, that's. Usually you get hot and angry too, and you're fighting back and you're saying all this other stuff, and it turns into this, and it's a lot of people, it's a bunch of talk, and we're like, if you really want to fight, let's just go outside. And we're like, let's do it right here. And we're like, actually, you know what, it's going to get broken up here. Let's go outside where nobody's going to break it up, and we can see who the winner is. And they're like, whoa. And then we put them on the spot, and we're like, all of a sudden we're outside, and we're like, okay, who's the toughest out of you guys? We're like, all right. Okay, I'm the smallest. Pick any one of you that you want to fight, any one of us, and we'll fight you one-on-one. And they're like, all of a sudden, the whole attitude changed, and they're like, they didn't get it. We were so relaxed and so calm and so confident that we can win and we can do anything that they got scared. They were like, what's wrong with these guys? Are they crazy? Do they have guns? Do they know something we don't? They started like, yap. We're like, fine. But we didn't really care. That's the thing, it's not that big of a deal. Because we train every day. We fight tough guys on a daily basis. Guys trying to beat us up. Talk about being in the now. There's no other better now than jiu-jitsu, because if you're not here, you're going to get your arm broke. You're going to get choked out. You have to be in the now. So we got dealing with tough guys all the time. Going on the street, it's just like, I know what I can do and what I can't do. I don't care to waste my time or go to jail or do something stupid like this. So jiu-jitsu gives you that confidence that you need, or to have, to feel confident, not being able to get in that scuffle. Somebody who's unconfident is probably going to talk a lot more, and why?
The loudest man in the room is the weakest man in the room.
Yeah.
Being around, the great influences and teachers that you had, what are some of the things that you do differently, or some of the things, some of their methodologies that you have personally evolved to try to convey the message better, or to get it across in your own personal way? Right.
Now, what was given to me was something greater than me, and that's the message that Helio Gracie was the mastermind of. The way he did things. The old man was very anal. He wanted things to be, he was a perfectionist. He wanted things done right. He was very disciplined with his children. It shows. It shows what a good man he was in being disciplined, because his children are all very successful at what they do in teaching. There's other Gracie family members that didn't have him as a father, and you can kind of tell. Helio's side of the family, anybody who stemmed from Helio, is very strict in what they do. That message and the formulas and the message that was given to me from Rorion and Helio is basically ingrained in my soul. It will be there forever. It will be in my children, it will be in everybody around me at my school. I didn't plan it that way, it's just what happened. Now, what they gave me was grand. What I did with it was something I had no idea that would happen. But looking back in retrospect, I know why now that it did happen. My pursuit in life is not to prove that I'm the toughest guy, is not to prove that we're the meanest, baddest people, but to prove something that we have a message to deliver. Now, there's formulas in our teaching methodology that separate us from everybody else. I've taken that exact formula of teaching method and went further into science, into figuring out how the brain works and how these methods and principles work with how the human brain, why these principles and things work so effectively and so well. I study the brain and how they work, and now I've discovered more psychological ways to make this method stand out more, further it, and enhance it and make it better for my students. So it's basically like a research project. And since I wasn't with Rorion or the Gracie Academy and Helio anymore, what made me go down this path and have the discipline and the fire that I did and nobody telling me what to do? It was something that was implanted in me a long time ago by Rorion and Helio Gracie. I just went this route. I had this burning desire to help people and to grow real jiu-jitsu through the entire world. In 1994 and 95, Rorion and Gracie introduced Gracie Jiu-Jitsu to the United States Army and to every single branch of the military. And I was his right-hand man back then. I used to help him out. I was just a helper, but it was just me and Rorion in the room. And I would help out, and when we first introduced it, it was me helping out our United States military. Now, we have 1.2 million soldiers around the world training Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. It's in every branch of our military. Law enforcement, it's starting to spread like wildfire. Why? Because we give people more choices and options. You don't have to beat somebody down. Nobody wants to be a Rodney King. Nobody wants to get beaten up. There's video cameras. There's lawsuits everywhere. We want a more humane way of handling a situation the best way. It could be a drunk relative, and you don't want to pop your grandmother in the crotch and jab her in the throat. You want to get somebody and get them in a position where, like, look, I think we should all calm down right now. You know, obviously I got control of the situation. I got your arm up behind your back, Grandma, and I'm not going to rip it off unless you get crazy. It could be in Whole Foods, at a parking lot. People get mad all the time. I've seen fights in Cherry Creek just over a parking spot.
So Gracie Jiu-Jitsu and Machado Jiu-Jitsu, and especially your particular conceptual framework and paradigm that you use to teach your students is really based on the art of fighting without fighting, it seems like. Obviously, you're going to use the very descriptive and traditional and dependable formulas that you've been taught, but also you're looking to innovate the teaching methodologies for Jiu-Jitsu. And could you give us some examples or guide us to walk us through some of the research or some of the things that you've learned that's helped you become a better teacher and helped you reach more people that way?
Absolutely. It started before Jiu-Jitsu and some of the books that I've read, because I've always been into the mind. Ever since I was in middle school, high school, I listened to tapes all through the night. Not knowing it would do, but in my own personal small-brained theory back then, I didn't know much. And I thought, you know what, I think this would work. Years and years of research, they discovered it did, then they discovered that it didn't, then they discovered that it did. I don't care. It's been working for me great. So a lot of books, psychology, studied Richard Bandler with neurolinguistic programming, design human engineering, social dynamics, psychology. Everything I can get my hands on. One of the first books that I've read was How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. It's a Bible to a lot of people. Most people have read it. It's very misleading by its title. However, the message delivered is very, very valuable. And as a prerequisite in my instructor's program, my students have to read the book. There's just basic common sense in life that people should know. And most people know these things, but there's a few things that we didn't know. Or maybe it just paints a different perspective, so we respond in a much more appropriate way that's going to be effective for the next person. That's what we're looking for. That's what I want to obtain. That's what I want to give. And that's what I want to express in the structured format of the successful formula that we've been using for 85 years. So now I've taken that successful formula and researched the science behind it, got references, studied upon it more, made it better in my own, what seems to me to be better, and what I've gained through my experience on helping people, getting better, quicker, faster, and now I've got it down to a science on the way I do things. but I still have the flexibility of thought to make things better, to adapt to new things, because things change all the time. Things get better all the time. And I want to keep myself up in that realm and aspect. When it comes to other things, you know, I just don't really care about. This is my true only passion in life, is to make other human beings better at whatever they may choose in life.
It's a very noble ideal as well.
Definitely. And so along those lines, for the people that are wanting to be students, not just of the martial arts, but just good students in life, what are the qualities that make up that construct?
I think making positive decisions. It starts on how we talk to ourselves on the inside, you know, because we all have made bad choices, and we all will make bad choices. However, the closer to perfection of the right way of thinking, the right way of doing things, I believe if you do something and it's just and it's correct and right and not hurting anybody else, and it's for the betterment of yourself, go for it. You know what I mean? And if it's the most efficient and fastest way to get there, do it, if it's going to make you better. I do the same thing. But my goal and purpose is, if it makes me better, it's going to make others better. But I'm not just going to show my way, you know, because it could work for that person, but not anybody else. But like I said, I like to have the neuroplasticity and the flexibility of thought to adapt and make things better. Because you see people doing things in life all the time that are just kind of off the wall. Now, are they crazy? They could be crazy. Somebody doing something and it's a strange behavior. However, that in particular structured behavior worked appropriately for this circumstance. However, it's very crazy in this one. So we have to be able to adapt and change a few things around to make it more efficient and effective for that circumstance, for that person, for that situation, making us better.